Hello, Mavericks. Hague with you tonight, and this is a big day. In fact, this is the day before the best real estate webinar ever in the history of real estate. Yes, indeed. That's what I'm going to try to make it tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. If you haven't registered, I will drop a link into the text that accompanies this Voxer. It is on, as I said, the perfect listing presentation. I have crammed so much content into 45 minutes that it is going to blow your hair away. Well, in yesterday's Voxer, I talked about how to win listings facing the toughest situation in real estate, and that's competing against a family member or close friend. I explained that the first step is having a unique, clearly superior formula, process, program, or plan, whatever you want to call it, where home sellers can logically see that you going with you will increase the probability their home will sell for thousands more. The idea is you need to make home sellers realize that by not listing with you, they're costing themselves a ton of dough. That's step one. Then step two is to give those home sellers an escape hatch, a way to list with you without ticking off the family member or close friend. Now, the answer to that is what I call a selective co-broke strategy. And that's where you offer to pay your entire commission, both the list and sale side, to this family member or friend if they find a buyer for the home. You even tell the sellers you're going to offer to let their family member or friend advertise the home so that they can increase the probability they'll find a buyer. Now, as you know, most homes sell to buyers with agents, so the odds that this licensed family member or friend will find an unrepresented buyer and you'll lose your list side commission is slim. But guess what? Even in the remote chance it happens, better to have gotten the listing, better to have bonded with the seller, better to have a listing that generates buyers for you, and better to have a seller that may refer business to you in future years. So it is clearly the way to go when you're competing against a family member or close friend and feel like you may lose the listing. I've used this two-step process time and time again and won listings I would have not otherwise taken. Now, today, that was yesterday. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what I consider the second toughest situation in real estate to win listings, and that, in my view, is realtors who lie. Realtors who lie to sellers about what their home's worth. It happens every day. I've seen this kind of thing turn into a bidding war. There'll be a sequence of realtors who will come in. One realtor says he can get $325,000. The next realtor asks the seller if they've gotten price opinions from any previous realtors. The sellers aren't experienced enough to know not to disclose this, so they do. That positions this next realtor to say, well, if Greg, who came in before me, says he can get $325,000, I can tell you for sure I can get you $335,000. Greg does that all the time. He was just getting you to price your home too low so he could make an easy sale. Now, this goes on and on until the sellers end up grossly overpricing their home, sits on the market. They ultimately sell for less because, as you well know, time is acid to the price of a home. This bidding war listing game is a real estate travesty. But as I said, it goes on every day. So, how do you handle it? So, how do you win in the face of realtors who lie to sellers about price? First of all, you explain this unfortunate game. You let sellers know, and also let them know how seriously it can hurt them by playing this game, by being played actually in this game, overpricing their home, letting it sit on the market, letting it have a record of price reductions, ultimately end up selling for less. That's what you do first. Then you recommend that the sellers get what I call a maximum price appraisal. Now, a lot of people don't even know about that. You can direct appraisers to appraise homes in different ways. There's what I call a maximum price appraisal, and that is simply where the sellers direct the appraiser to value their home at the highest possible price it could sell for, given optimal market conditions. Now, this has multiple advantages. First, it lets the sellers know that this is the most they'll ever be able to sell the home for because it's the most the buyers, their ultimate buyers, lenders, appraiser could ever appraise the home for. So that's the cap. That's it. And it's also a great sales tool for you. It's also a great sales tool for you to get buyers up in price using this appraisal to prove to value to buyers, to prove to buyers also that the seller spent the money for an appraisal up front so they could price their home fairly, unlike most sellers who overprice their homes just trying to try for the sky. Now, I used to have an appraiser available who would provide these optimal price appraisals to my sellers and even give the sellers a discount on the appraisal price because I referred him so much business. And then to make this even more palatable to my sellers, I offered to reimburse them for the appraisal out of my commission at closing. This, I told sellers, this is the way to prove for you to know that what these other realtors are telling you is not true. It's going to hurt you. And substantively, I told them, if the appraisal comes in, and the appraisal is where this top realtor who says he can get you all this money, if that's where it is, then guess what? I'll pay for the appraisal right then, and you can go list with that realtor. That won the day so many times, I can't tell you. And that was a way that I could prove to sellers that I was the guy that didn't lie. Well, Maverick's the quote for this evening. The worst thing about being lied to is knowing you weren't worth hearing the truth. Don't forget, sign up for the perfect listing presentation webinar in the morning. Mavericks, have an amazing evening. Back with you, another Voxer tomorrow.